Hi Rob.
Hi.
This is Lehlohonolo from Fullview, and thanks for agreeing to give us an opportunity just to engage. I know you're no longer actively involved, but
well, I am still a member of the Central Committee of the party and also the Politburo, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Because it always helps, that we get an opportunity to engage with you, as a veteran, as well.
Sure.
You have been
no
there.
problem.
Yes, and I really appreciate for that. And just overall, what's your take about the decision that the SACP took to stand alone in the next year's elections?
Well, I think the important point is that the last election demonstrated that there's a crisis of representation for the working class and the poor.
Yes.
What do we mean by that? We mean that nobody really stood in the election explicitly on behalf of the working class and the poor. Many people said that, but I think if you unpack the direction of the policies, you can see that on the one hand they were overly influenced by neoliberal policy positions, which were constricting the real opportunities to make radical shifts in favor of working people and the poor, and underfunding all the major programs. On the other hand, we've got, I think, ethnic populist parties that emerged, which I think, while they may speak a leftist language from time to time, I don't think can be really trusted to follow that agenda forward. So that's what I mean by a crisis of representation. More specifically, what did we see? We saw a very low turnout in the election. Lots and lots of people felt nobody represented them. They didn't bother to go to the polls. Other people who went, who were formerly ANC voters, decided that they would go with one or other of these alternatives. So I think that that's what we mean by a crisis of representation. So in that context, and following that, we've now got this thing called Government of National Unity, which is really a coalition between the ANC and the DA. What's going to be the impact of that? Well, we already know the influence of the DA is to reduce and blunten all kinds of transformatory measures, from Bella, the NHI, but also on macroeconomic policy. There is a trend towards tightening up on fiscal austerity. There's a trend towards what I think a number of writers are talking about, the shift from the Washington to the Wall Street consensus. And the Wall Street consensus is supposed to be that you follow all the economic ratios and you don't exceed any of those of the Washington consensus, but you add to that that when you are short of revenue to fund this, that, and the other thing, you turn to profit-seeking funds and you try to work with them. Now, what does work with them mean? It means you guarantee them a minimum level of profitability, which is no less than they could get from financial speculation. So we got that. And I think that what that means is that the party, I think, is obliged to enter this electoral space and to offer voters an opportunity for a class-based solution to a number of the problems. So we don't want to do it in a way that's going to break the alliance. Everyone says we want the alliance to continue. I think there's obviously a lot of discussions to be had about the details of that decision. But the general decision is in place when it goes along with another decision, which is about building left popular fronts in campaigns on a ton of other issues. So it's not just an electoral option. It's an option about trying to build more influence on the ground under conditions in which I think the old adage of we won't win in the boardroom what we haven't won on the ground is probably even more true now than it was in the last 5 years.
No, fair enough, and it's more detailed. But if one may ask, I hear that the DP spoke about the reconfiguration. The SG emphasized the reconfiguration. What exactly does the reconfiguration entail?
Well, I think the reconfiguration is look, we can't be part of an alliance process where in actual fact on policy matters the DA has more influence than other alliance partners. So there's been a discussion even before the GNU. There's a discussion about that there must be more inclusivity and a greater set of consultative processes, and a lot of decisions that we make have got to be joint decisions, a lot more decisions. And I think that was the idea of the reconfiguration of the alliance. And what we said over a long period of time that we would rather participate in elections through a reconfigured alliance. But we, as you heard the General Secretary say, we haven't got a reconfigured alliance. The Deputy President indicated, and maybe this is what this decision has done. Okay. Maybe there might be a bit of a greater urgency on the part of the ANC in trying to address that matter. But let's see where we go.
But doesn't this signal maybe the end of the alliance, if I may put it that way?
I think that nobody wants that.
Okay.
And as long as everybody reacts to this decision with maturity,
yes.
Because I think that you know, when we are as the party critical of the GNU, yes. we're not saying we're in opposition to the ANC. Yes. It's this configuration of the government, yes. which is less receptive to working class interests and working class demands, yes. And likely to become more so. And I think that's the real issue. So I think one of the really hot potatoes is the national health insurance.
But overall, do you think the GNU will last?
I'm not sure. I think that if we look just generally around the world, there is a huge discontent, yes. with the social reality created by neoliberalism, and incumbent governments tend to be losers. If we look at the round of elections, yes. lots and lots of incumbent governments lose, including our own, yes. Lost a lot of power. So I think that if nothing fundamental changes, and I don't think it will change through neoliberal policies, on the real issues of poverty, inequality and unemployment. I mean, unemployment on the strict definition, which we know is not the proper definition, yes. is higher now than it was before COVID. The trend line is that there's some shock. Unemployment goes up and it never goes down. You know, it's cyclical a bit, so it's a little bit lower in the last quarter than it was in the quarter before, but it's still much higher. I think it's 31% compared to 29%.
Yes.
On the strict definition. So I think that's the issue. And unless, I mean, things like public employment programs are having their budgets cut. So if we carry on like this, I think that the reality at the end of 2029 is not going to look very good. Yes. And then I don't know whether parties are going to start jumping ship, because I imagine some of them might for survivalist purposes. Yes. Well, we'll wait and see.
But while I'm on unemployment, we're about to finish now. You have been the Minister of Trade and Industry.
Yeah.
But if one may ask, where are we getting it wrong? Because in '94 to now, there's a huge difference in terms of the percentage or the increase of unemployment. Yeah. Clearly, there's something that we're not doing right.
So I think that what we need is, we don't need what they call structural reform, yes. which is liberalization of network industries. We need structural transformation. We need to change the productive base of our economy. I don't know whether you know, but in 1994, the financial sector was 6% of the GDP.
Yes.
Now it's nearly 25%. They control assets, according to one credible estimate that I've seen, equal to about 3 times the GDP of South Africa.
Yes.
Now, this has not been invested in the productive sectors in South Africa. This has been invested in everything else, yes. including offshore. And I think those are the sort of issues that we've had. So we have not pursued, in my time, we were allowed to pursue industrial policy, which was a step forward from the time when it was off the table. Yes. But it was never the overriding priority of the government. Okay. And I think that's one of the issues that no developmental state in history has ever had, never successfully moved forward, unless industrial policy has been the absolute apex priority. That hasn't happened. Yes. I think that's where we are. So we continue to be an economy that is financializing and financialized. The biggest companies in South Africa now are not the mining houses, no manufacturing company, no agricultural company. It's banks and then funds, fund managers. The richest people in South Africa are all involved in this financial sector. Yes. So I think this is the reality, and this is not a good thing, because it's not that it's I mean, the financial sector is not channeling resources to productive activity. It's actually intervening in almost every transaction, including by non-financial companies, and a huge amount of their profit comes from shared transactions and stuff like that, a growing part. I think that the financialized economies of the world are the United States, the United Kingdom, and not China. So who's moved forward and who's moving backwards? I think that's the issue that we need to confront.
As we close, overall, do you think the Congress has achieved the objective?
Well, we're still not finished. We've got to see how the resolutions go.
Yes.
But I think it has been a pretty good conference so far.
Yes.
And I think that the tone has been pretty unified, mostly. And that, I mean, we've heard some very, very powerful speeches by some of our visitors. I would talk about Panyaza Lesufi and Mike Shingani from Kasatu. I think those were two very, very powerful speeches. So I think that, yeah, I'm happy with the way it's gone so far.
Okay.
Thanks.
No, thank you so much for your
Sure.
time. I really appreciate it, Rob,
Okay, sure.
and your insights are always helpful, and looking forward for more engagement, and all the best
Okay, sure.
with the conference.
If you want to talk to me in the future, I don't even live anywhere in Metropole. I mean, I live in a little town in the Western Cape, so Zoom meetings work for me.
No, that's
Okay.
fine, we'll do that,
All right.
Rob. But thank
Okay.
you so much.
Okay,
I really
sure.
appreciate
Okay,
it, Rob.
thanks. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.